This video I'm going to unbox, assemble, and review the Hemudu dual vertical monitor stand model HT05B-002. The reading materials consist of a single page with a parts list and instructions on the back, which are pretty easy to follow. First, I pull out the two vertical stand pieces that get bolted together, then three packages of hardware, a plastic end piece, the Visa mounts, the connector piece, and finally at the bottom we have the base of the stand. I notice the base has a matte finish on the bottom and a polished finish on top. Then I decide to take the main parts out of their packaging and lay it all out to make it easier to assemble. Then after that, I will locate the 4 feet with adhesive on the back and press them onto the bottom of the base. The feet are adhered all together on a square sheet, so I will just peel them off one by one to press on each corner about a ½ inch from the edges. Now I will bolt the two vertical stand pieces together, so I will set the open ends with the two bolt holes next to each other and then put the piece that joins them on top so the holes all line up. Next I will locate the 4 bolts packaged with the Allen wrench, take them out of the packaging, and screw them in to connect the pieces together. All the weight from the monitors will be on the other side of the connector piece, so this design seems to be pretty solid. Now I will bolt these joined pieces to the base, so I will need to determine which end will allow me to do that. I will slide the oval plastic piece on that end and bolt it on, but then I realized that I had the base on backwards while tightening it up, so I had to take the washers and bolts out to flip the base around. Now that I have it on right, I put the washers and bolts back in and tighten them up all the way. Once assembled, the stand feels really sturdy, so I feel confident that it will hold my monitors with no problem. Now I'm curious how the Visa mounts work, so I begin figuring that out, starting with how to tilt them. They have a plastic knob that will tighten the mount up once you have the monitor tilted to the degree you desire. There is a bolt on the bottom, so I try the provided Allen wrench, and it doesn't fit, so I grab one that does, and then I try to tighten it up. The bolt just spins though, so it doesn't need to be tightened, which explains why they didn't provide an Allen wrench that fits it. To attach the Visa mounts, you need to make sure the tabs that get inserted into the vertical stand have the grooves on the bottom so they can slide down to get the back bolt in. When installed correctly, the bolt will line up with the indentation on the mount, which will prevent it from pulling out once the bolt is screwed in all the way. The final step of the assembly process is to insert the 3 plastic clips for cable management on the back, so I will do this by pressing them down into the square holes until they click into place. Now that I have the stand assembled, next step is to attach the Visa mounts to the monitors. There are 3 different types of bolts in each package, so I need to figure out which ones will work for me. So I start to experiment with what was provided, and the only way I was able to make it work with this monitor was with the shorter screws that has the smaller threads and the black plastic piece without the washer. I didn't like that option though, so I decided to grab 4 nuts to use as a spacer, and I was able to use the shorter bolts along with the washers this way. The bolt seemed to stick out over 1/8 of an inch above the nut before I started to screw it in, so I figured that would be sufficient enough to keep the mount attached. So next I will slide the mount attached to the monitor into the top slots and screw the rear bolt in all the way so the mount won't come out. I decided to attach the top monitor first so I know how much room I'll have to work with below it. The top monitor is a 28-inch, so I decided to try a 27-inch below to see how much room will be left over. This monitor will use the inner holes on the Visa mount, and I don't need spacers to allow the bolts to tighten up all the way. Now with the second mount attached, I'll slide it into the stand, then I will flip everything around so I can screw the rear bolt in, and finally tighten up the clamp after I have it adjusted to the angle I want. I tried working with this setup for a couple of days, but I'm using a recliner with this desk, so a 27-inch monitor made it a little hard to see things from how far away I was sitting back from it. So I started watching for a deal on a 32-inch monitor and got lucky after a day or so. I was able to work out a really good deal on one. The seller even delivered it to me since he was going to be nearby. This 32-inch monitor that I'm swapping out with the 27-inch didn't require spacers either, so bolting the mount on was just as easy as the monitor I took it off of. So with it attached to the stand, I'll go through and connect all the cables again, and then insert them into the clips on the back for cable management. Now I need to flip everything around so I can tighten up the clamp on the mount once I have the monitor adjusted to the angle I want. And once that is done, all I have left to do is connect the power and HDMI cable to the bottom monitor and I'll be ready to work again. I found this stand easy to assemble and it feels really sturdy, so I'm not worried at all about it falling apart on me, so I definitely feel like this was well worth the money I paid for it. Hopefully this video has helped, and feel free to ask any questions that you still may have in the comments. Thank you for watching, and please like and subscribe for more quick and on-point videos.